Marc Marquez stood under the bright Madrid lights, smiling for the cameras at an Estrella Galicia event. His first public appearance since the brutal crash in Mandalika. Behind that smile, though, was a man still healing, both physically and mentally. The crash that ended his 2025 MotoGP season had left not just a mark on his shoulder, but a fresh test of his legendary resilience. Yet, even now, Marc Marquez was talking not about pain or loss, but about comeback, about belief. He made it clear that missing the Valencia test wouldn't define his 2026 season. What mattered wasn't the track time he was losing. It was how his body would heal. In his own words, "Whether I'm competitive in 2026 will depend on my physical condition, not on whether I've missed one more race or not." Those words carried the calm of a man who's faced this kind of challenge before. Marquez knows his body, knows the limits of pain, and knows how to come back from it stronger. Just a week after celebrating his 7th MotoGP world title, he found himself in a hospital room instead of the winner's circle. The Mandalika crash, caused by contact with Marco Bezzecchi, had been violent. Doctors in Madrid confirmed a coracoid fracture and ligament damage to his right shoulder, ruling him out for the remaining rounds of 2025. For most riders, that would spell disaster. For Marquez, it was just another chapter in his story of survival. He explained that he knew something was wrong the instant he hit the gravel. The way he described it later, "I know my body because I've crashed many times," summed up his career. Pain isn't new to him. Recovery isn't either. But this time, the stakes were different. He wasn't just fighting to ride again. He was fighting to ensure that when he did, he'd be the same fearless, razor-sharp competitor who built his name on impossible saves and jaw-dropping wins. His medical team initially tried to avoid surgery, hoping that rest and therapy could do the job. For a few days, it seemed to be working, until the swelling worsened, and one morning, his collarbone had shifted out of place. That's when the decision was made to operate. Marquez went under the knife in October. Now, his focus is on recovery. Slow, deliberate, and disciplined. He shared that doctors told him recovery would take time because both ligaments and bones were affected. Still, he reassured fans that there would be no lasting damage. He joked about how he's become something of a shoulder expert after years of surgeries, a grim reminder of the toll MotoGP takes even on its greatest champions. What's remarkable is how he never talks about the pain with bitterness. For Marquez, every injury is part of the price of greatness. And yet, what makes this story different is the maturity that now defines him. The Marc Marquez of 2020 would have been desperate to get back on the bike immediately, risking everything to prove he could still win. The 2025 version is wiser. "I'm respecting the recovery schedule," he said. "Things are progressing well." For a man whose entire career was built on pushing limits, learning to slow down may be his greatest evolution yet. He will miss the Valencia test, the first real chance to experience Ducati's 2026 prototype. But he doesn't see that as a setback. Marquez insists that what really matters is starting the new season in peak condition, ready to push from the first lap of 2026. "It can't be confirmed yet that I'll be at the Sepang test," he admitted. "But I hope to be back on a bike much sooner." That hope, that unshakable optimism, is what makes him who he is. The man has broken nearly every bone, endured surgeries that would end other careers, and still walks into every season believing he can be world champion again. That's not confidence, that's conviction. Doctors have said there's still a broken screw in his shoulder, a leftover from the nightmare that began with his Jerez crash in 2020. But that too doesn't bother him. For Marquez, scars are reminders of the battles he's already won. Every mark on his body tells a story of defiance, of a man who refuses to quit, no matter how many times he's knocked down. Behind the scenes, his recovery routine is relentless. Hours of therapy, strength training, flexibility work. It's not glamorous, it's quiet, painful, and repetitive, but this is where the real comeback happens. Not on the bike. Not on the podium, in the silence of the gym, where he's rebuilding piece by piece what the crash took away. When he talks about the future, there's no hesitation in his voice. He doesn't question whether he'll be competitive again. He talks like a man who's already written the comeback in his mind. He just needs time for his body to catch up. "Whether I've missed one more race or not doesn't matter," he said. What matters is being ready when it counts. That's classic Marquez. Focused on the big picture, determined to control what he can, and unfazed by what he can't. His fans know this version of him well. The calm before the storm. The man who goes quiet for a while, and then returns to rewrite the script. As Ducati prepares its 2026 machine, they're well aware that having Marquez at full strength is the key to unlocking their next era of dominance. Even with him sidelined, the shadow he casts is immense. His presence in the garage, his feedback, his leadership, has already changed how the team operates. They know that when he's back, he'll bring the same intensity that defined his glory days. And make no mistake, 2026 could be the start of something special. Marquez has a history of turning comebacks into legend. Whether it was 2019's near-perfect season or his miraculous return after a broken arm in 2021, he's made a career out of doing the impossible. The question isn't if he'll be fast again, it's when. As the MotoGP world looks ahead, there's anticipation in every paddock conversation. How will Marquez adapt to the new Ducati? Can he still challenge the likes of Bagnaia, Martin, and Bastianini after so much time away? These are the questions fans will debate all winter. But deep down, everyone knows the truth. Marc Marquez has built his legacy by proving people wrong. For now, though, he's focused on the simple things: recovery, training, and time with his family. The roar of the engine will have to wait, but when it returns, so will the fire. You can almost feel it, that hunger that never fades. The same hunger that turned a boy from Cervera into a 7-time world champion. Missing the Valencia test might have slowed his timeline, but it hasn't shaken his belief. Marc Marquez has been through too much, lost too much to let one more setback define him. If anything, it's just fuel. Fuel for the next battle. Fuel for redemption. Because if history has taught us anything, it's this. Whenever the world starts to doubt Marc Marquez, that's when he's at his most dangerous.